To set up my paper for the drawing mannequin, I'm going to start with a rather large 12 by 18 piece of paper and a regular 12-inch ruler and a pencil. And my paper is going horizontal, so it's wider than it is tall. I'm going to set my ruler across the top here with 0 on the left side, and I'm going to make a mark at 9 inches. I'll do that across the top, 9 inches, and across the bottom. So I'm going to slide my ruler down, 0's on the left, and make a mark at 9 here. So that is dividing my paper in half. It's an 18-inch wide piece of paper, and I've marked 9 inches, and now I'm going to connect the dots. Okay, I'm going to focus on the left side of my paper here. The right we'll be doing something different with. And with my ruler at the top, my 0 at the top of the paper, I'm going to make a mark at 3 on the right and the left, 3 inches down from the top. And I'm going to connect those marks with a horizontal line that is going to stop at that vertical line we just drew. And then I'm working on the bottom kind of square down here. 0 on the left, 9's over here on that vertical line. I'm going to make a line at 2 and 5 inches. So 2 inches and 5 inches. I'm going to do that across the top and the bottom. 0's on the left. I'll make a mark at 2 inches and 5 inches. Top and bottom, so we could connect that with some vertical lines. So the left half of my paper is all divided up. Now I'm going to look at the right half of my paper, this 9 by 12 square here. And I'm going to make a mark at every inch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Set it back over here on the right side, 0's at the top. Make a mark every inch between 1 and 9. And then I'm going to connect all those marks on the left and right edge with a horizontal line. Now I'm going to label different parts of my paper. So first things first, we'll flip it over, and on the back you're going to write your first name, your last name, or at least your last initial, your art period number, and then the year, or sorry, the date. I'm just going to put the year on here. On the front, we're going to label this top section here. It's going to be called circles, ovals, cylinders, modified cylinders, trapezoids, triangles, etc. In this middle section here, I'm going to write draw body, pre-instruction, and in the bigger section here, I'm going to label this one draw mannequin, pre-instruction, and that's good for your labeling. So the first thing you're going to do is draw your body pre-instruction. I'm not going to draw one, I don't want you guys to follow me, but you have this tall space, this wide space here, to draw from the head, shoulders, body, hips, legs, knees, shins, shoes, feet, arms, hands. And without me teaching anything, I want to see how you guys can draw a human body from head to toe. I finished my drawing without any references or anything learned, this is my pre-instruction body drawing, and we're going to move up into this section. Circles, ovals, cylinders, modified cylinders, trapezoids, triangles, and more. So these are going to be the types of shapes we're going to be drawing our body out of, so we're going to go ahead and practice them up here. And no circle guides allowed. I want you guys to practice drawing different size circles, bigger ones, smaller ones, or into ovals. Ovals that are maybe even on the top and the bottom, or kind of a modified oval. Maybe it's going to start out thinner and get thicker towards the bottom. And just try a couple of these types of shapes that are wider and then narrow up and go back to wide again, so they're kind of squeezed in the middle. And you have this whole space to try some of these types of shapes. Trapezoids, but then more like rounded trapezoids, triangular type shapes. And just try to fill this space. You can think of some other shapes. I'm going to do like a half a circle, a shape that looks more like an egg. And basically what you're going to find out is that a lot of these shapes are seen across this mannequin here. So that's kind of like a half a heart type shape. Or the foot, that's this kind of bulging shape. It gets wider, it gets narrower. The thigh shape that kind of curves. So I'm trying to show you guys some of these types of shapes you're going to be seeing on your mannequin. So for instance, that hand was kind of like a half a heart shape, which is where that half circle came from. I'm also trying some things at kind of funny angles. Not everything is going to be vertical and horizontal. Some things, like the arm, may be out a little bit. So I want you to kind of think of these shapes as not just up and down, but also they may be going from side to side. Some of these shapes are narrow on one side and they widen out on the other side. You could round them out, or you can flatten their ends. And just kind of get used to the types of shapes you'll be doing soon. And once I've filled up that space, I can't fit anything more, we will glue stick down two of the papers you're going to be getting, which are some little guides here that show the body by some markings, the markings we're going to be using. So you'll get a front view and a profile style view, and just glue stick all over the back of that paper, and you should be able to fit the two of them in this space. And then we can get out our mannequins, and you're going to try to draw one of these mannequins before I give you guys any instructions. So a couple things to notice about the mannequins: they break all day long. I'm going to teach you guys how to get them to not break. Some joints, like we can move our arms in ways that these mannequins can't. They basically have springs inside of them that hold these pieces together, but they are very limited by their movements. You might be able to swivel the arm kind of up and down. We're not going to do unnatural things. So it can go up and down. I don't need it lifted up over its head in crazy ways, but that can swivel that way. Then you can see this little track right here. On that track, the arm can move up and down this way. So it can't come at funny angles. It can go up and down, and it can go left and right, and that's about it. The elbow, you can see this track in here, so this can follow that track. And this forearm can kind of swivel. You can hear the little clicking noise. That spring is kind of having a hard time. I can't move that ball though. I can't move that up and down. It can only go along that little track there. This can move. I can move the hand along that little black line that can swivel back and forth. But if I'm trying to get the hand on the hip, that may not necessarily work. His arm may not be able to go in that way. So just understand, because broken mannequins, I can't fix them. They are done. The top half of the body, it can't look left and right very well, but it can move kind of front to back, so you can kind of bend over or lean back. The hips don't move at all, they're on this base. The legs can move forward and back along here, and the this, it wouldn't go forward, that can't bend, but it can go back. The legs, but I can't kick the hips out, I can't rotate it that way. It can only go forward and back. So understand that as you're trying to reposition or straighten these mannequins out, that they are not humans. They cannot do everything that we can do. So we'll set these out, and then you'll have some time to draw a mannequin. So not just a person, but the shapes and forms of this mannequin you're going to draw in this next section. So I finished my pre-instruction mannequin. It's okay if one's bigger than the other. You're not needing to make this guy the same as this guy. I haven't taught you guys proportions yet, so maybe my hands are too long, or my head's too small, or the legs are too big. That is not anything you need to worry about now. We're just trying to look at the shapes and see what we see, kind of stack things up, figure out the shapes of that one. So that is your pre-instruction mannequin. And now we're going to work over here on the with instruction. We're going to do a front view on one side, and we're going to change a pose and try a second pose over here on the other side. So in an art school and art book, you would learn that the human head is measured by the height of the head. So from top of the head to the chin, we use that as a unit of measurement. And so we always say that the human body is, I've heard different things, but 7.5 to 8 heads tall. So with that unit of measurement, we're going to use an inch on our paper. That is one space, and a little guide is over here. The next head goes down to partway down the chest. The next one goes down to the belly button, and I'm kind of off here on this. The next one goes down to the crotch area, so around where the hips, the bottom of the pelvis bone is. Next one goes down to partway down the thighs, and the next measurement goes down to below the knees. And then the shins, and the last one is the rest of the shin down to the ankle and the foot. If you are learning to draw babies or little kids that are still growing, you use a different measurement tool. And if you're drawing like supermodels, you're trying to do like a fashion type thing, usually use more like 9 to 10 heads. But for learning to draw, we're going to use the 8 head method with our mannequin here. And so the top space we're not going to draw in. We're going to start our head inside this first 1 inch here. And so you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 inches, and we'll do something else down below. So I'm going to try to only take about half the space. If you want to mentally break that up, 4.5 inches would be kind of your halfway point. So I don't really want my drawing to go over this line. I want to keep it in here. So I can kind of center that, and I'm going to start by drawing the head of my mannequin. And we're going to look at the actual mannequins, and not drawing a human head, we're drawing a mannequin head. So you'll notice that it is almost like a light bulb type shape, where it's going to kind of be smaller around the chin, and it's going to flare out and then curve. This mannequin has a very long head, so I don't know if he's exactly proportionate, but we're gonna fit our head for sure in this 1 inch of space. And then the bottom of the head where the chin would be will flatten out here along that line. And then if you look, these mannequins have a line that's really like the center of their face, and they have these almost petal type shapes. So here and here, the rest of it's all rounded out. That's the front of his face. His head, I didn't really think about this, but his head kind of turns, ooh, and that almost popped out. So be really careful when you're moving that. I'm just probably gonna move it side to side, and that's about it. But I'll keep it straight up and down for now, and be careful of those springs in here. So I'm going to draw a line that comes straight up the middle, and then as it reaches the top, it is going to make this curve and come back down. That's gonna be his face. And now we're going to fit in the neck and part of the torso. So the neck is going to be these kind of 2 curved lines. There's a ball on the inside, so this would be like a whole circle, but we can only see 2 of these lines. And just part of the way down, and I'm actually going to take this neck shape down to, actually we'll start with the shoulders here. We'll go ahead and round out the shoulders with a slightly curving line. Let it come out a little bit past the sides of the head. And I'm going to bring a curved line so that this mark here is at this next line. So I'm going to follow this and bring this down to curve, and this down to curve, and that little ovalus shape is going to be right along here. If you feel like you maybe made your neck too big or something, you can always erase. Maybe I want to slide that up a little bit. This guy's 12 inches, so it's not going to be drawn the same size. We're only drawing him an 8, and this is a 12-inch tall mannequin. So you will need to kind of mentally shrink things down a little bit. And I'm going to bring that down to about halfway down this next space. So in this third, I'll go number this out. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. So in this third section, I'm going to divide this up into about half and finish out the shape of the mannequin's torso with that curving line. The hips are going to start here along the division between the third and fourth lines. And I'm going to draw in the waist with this kind of circle that would be on the inside here. And then this hip area is going to take up this entire space. And pay attention too, my hips are getting a little too far out wide, so watch your mannequin, watch the where you're drawing above it, and make sure you're trying to fit things in proportionately. And I can see it curves, it's a little bit narrow towards the top, more wide towards the bottom, and flattens out here. So that would be the bottom of the pelvis. This would be like the belly button along that 3-4. This would be part of the way down the chest in this space here. Next up, I'm going to place the knees. The knees are pretty low in this number 6 box, and you want to come down below the left and right side. I'm going to start with these kind of light circles, and the pieces that go on top can cut off the top of the circles. So I'll place those first. The hip circles are a little bit bigger. They'll come on the left and right side here. I'm drawing nice and light, so now I can put in this piece and it'll just cut off the bottom of this one and towards the top of this one. And I'm looking at the shape of that thigh piece. And now I'm going to move down to where the ankles are going to be, low here on the bottom of the last box, starting with the 2 small circles that the feet are connected to. Top half of the circle and bottom half of the circle are cut off, and looking at the shape of that shin, lower leg piece. And then lastly, the feet, fitting the feet in on the legs here, and then we can move back up to the arms. You can do the feet 2 different ways. I can have this foot out to the side, and maybe this foot's coming more like towards me, or you can have both out to the side. It's up to you, but I'm gonna make this one look like it's popping out actually more towards my direction. And then back up to the arms. So you can see the arms here go part of the way down the thighs, so they're gonna end about the line between the 5 and the 6 will be the end. The elbows are here along the top of the hip piece. So the starting up here at the top, it's kind of more of a an egg shape piece. And then the bottom of that gets cut off. I'm going to place the circle for the hips in here, and then a circle for the hands where the hands connect, and then I can just kind of piece those other arm parts together. Okay, so there's the hands with the elbows right there along the hip. The ends of the hands are about here where the thigh are. The wrist of the hand is right below that kind of thigh bone. So that's a little bit of a quick sketch for the video. I would go back and kind of take my time looking for other things. Like I can see the curve here on this kind of pelvic bone piece of wood. make sure I have all these other details in. I could also take my time and go back in and add some of the hardware that you can see that assembles this guy. I see some lines for where the joints are. I might need to erase a couple things. So that is step by step what each box would fit into. And the one here on the right, you get to change the pose and kind of modify his shape a little bit. And remember, they have certain ways they can bend and ways that they cannot bend, so be very gentle when you start to move them. And try a second pose. And then the other thing to do is at the bottom here, you're going to get a value strip and a glue stick, and you're just going to glue this little value strip here into the bottom to practice out several different value, or not several different, but to practice out different value scale. So I'm just going to take this strip and glue it in the top of this, the top of this box. If your foot hangs out over the edge, just glue it right below that. And this will be several different value scales, so we get to practice.